morning, and it's good to see you today on this Maundy Thursday. We are only a few days away from Easter, and it has been a fun journey doing this Lent video series with all of you. If you are tuning in for the first time, let me just mention that we are looking at 40 different names connected to Jesus in the Bible. And so in the Bible, there are many different descriptions, many different metaphors, some of them that Jesus gave himself in the Bible, and it's been fun looking at each one and really getting to know Jesus better. I mean, that has been the goal from the very beginning of the series, is to focus on Jesus and help really learn from Jesus on who he is, really on what that means for our lives and how we can live a life that is God-honoring and a life that is faithful to him. And so it's been really enjoyable to go through these names of this series with you. So thank you for tuning in. This morning we are looking at Jesus being known as the true vine. And let me pull up the Bible verse on where we actually get this. And let me also give a description about it as well, because one of the interesting things about these names, at least the last few names that we've been covering, a lot of them have a lot of roots in the Old Testament. I'm not using roots necessarily because Jesus is listed as the true vine here, but there's a lot of connection to the Old Testament, and I believe Jesus is really, with some of these terms, wanting to connect with his Jewish audience. I mean, that's the best way to describe it, especially here, because when he says, and this is Jesus speaking to his disciples, with all of them essentially having some sort of Jewish background, he is saying to them, I am the true vine, and my Father is the vine dresser. Now, for us, we don't necessarily make a connection to anything because we don't really understand what Jesus means necessarily, that he is the true vine. And so it doesn't register with us as maybe it would register with the Jewish audience. And so let me take us back to the Old Testament. And I have a few passages here that I just want to read, because in the Old Testament, this is what the disciples would have heard when Jesus says that he is the true vine. They probably would have thought of Psalm 80, verse 8. You brought a vine out of Egypt. You drove out the nations and planted it. You cleared the ground for it. It took deep root and fulfilled the land. The mountains were covered with its shade, the mighty cedars with its branches. It sent out its branches to the sea, its roots to the river. Why then have you broken down its walls, so that all who pass along the way pluck its fruit? The boar from the forest ravages it, and all the more in the field feed on it. Turn again, O God of hosts, look down from the heaven and see, have regard for this vine, the stock that your right hand has planted, and for the son whom you have made strong for yourself. They have burned it with fire, they have cut it down. May they perish at the rebuke of your face. And so here in Psalm 80, Israel is being referred to as a vine, and it kind of shows, how the enemies have plucked it. The enemies have ravaged it, and they're asked a lot of questions like, God, why are you not looking down and having regard for this vine that you planted? So I'm sure the disciples would have heard that. And now let's go to another one here. This would have been, Isaiah chapter 5, starting in verse 1. I mean, the disciples probably would have heard this as well. Let me sing for my beloved my love concerning his vineyard. My beloved had a vineyard on a very fertile hill. He dug it and cleared it of stones and planted it with choice vines. He built a watchtower in the midst of it, and he hewed out a wine vat in it. And he looked for it to yield grapes, but it yielded wild grapes. And now, O inhabitants of Jerusalem and men of Judea, judge between me and my vineyard. What more was there to do for my vineyard? that I have not done in it? When I looked for it to yield grapes, why did it yield wild grapes? And now I will tell you what I will do with my vineyard. I will remove its hedge, and it will be devoured. I will break down its wall, and it shall be trampled down. I will make it a waste. It shall not be pruned or hewed, and briars and thorns shall grow up. I will also command the clouds that no rain shall rain upon it. For the vineyard of the Lord of hosts is the house of Israel, and the men of Judah are its pleasant planting. And he looked for justice, but behold, bloodshed; for righteousness, but behold, an outcry. So again, this is a lot of imagery of Israel being a vine, Israel being a vineyard, and who is the gardener in both of these examples here that the disciples would have heard? Yeah, it's God is the gardener. Israel is the vine. But what Jesus says when he comes along and he says that I am the true vine and my Father is the vine dresser, they would have registered and said, well, wait a second. Jesus is the true vine? Why is he the true vine? Well, what Jesus is basically saying is, where Israel failed, I succeed. I am the source of life, faithfulness, and fruitfulness that God intended. And so Jesus, when he makes this statement, is picking up saying that, hey, Israel failed. Israel, of course, God, destroyed. God sent into exile because of their failures, because of their sin, because of their inability to continue worshiping him. But I am the true vine, because I am the source of life. I'm the source of all faithfulness and fruitfulness that God intended. In fact, when you read past John 15:1, you get a little bit further, and this is what Jesus even says. I mean, he picks up on this theme a few verses later. He says, abide in me and I in you, as the branch cannot bear fruit by itself unless it abides in the vine. Neither can you unless you abide in me. I am the vine, you are the branches. Whoever abides in me and I in him, he it is that bears much fruit, for apart from me you can do nothing. And that's such a key warning, for us as well. Like, unless we really make an effort to see Jesus as the true vine, and to see Jesus as the source of life, the source of our faithfulness, the source of our ability to have good fruit, then apart from him, we cannot do anything. Like, that's the warning. And so, as we close in on Easter and really reflect upon what Easter means, it shows us that we have the ability to be connected to the true vine because of what Jesus did for us on the cross. Like, he died for our sins. On the third day, he rose again in order that we might have life. And that's a wonderful promise that Christ has given us by the work of what he did on the cross and the work of the empty tomb. And so take time today to look at Jesus as the true vine, the true source of life for your life, the true source of faithfulness. And maybe even spend time, meditating on those passages in the Old Testament. Like, how is that a warning for us today? How does that reflect upon our lives today? And then maybe even write some things down and reflect upon those things. I think it would be very helpful for all of us to do that today. Now, just one more thing before we depart this morning. I do want to invite you out for our Maundy Day, or Maundy Thursday, and meal and service. It's going to be a wonderful time together where we're just going to have a meal, and then we're going to have a short time of worship. The worship probably will not be that long. It's just going to be really a time of reflection on what this evening really represents, and really what does the Passover meal represent for us today as Christians. Sometimes we just see the Passover meal as something that the Jews or the Jewish people did, but actually there's some interesting connections to why we celebrate it as Christians. So come out tonight for that. Thank you so much for tuning in this morning, and definitely look forward to seeing you soon. God bless, and I'll see you tomorrow as we continue this series, really going through this season of Lent together, looking at Jesus, 40 different names connected to Jesus. So God bless, and we'll see you soon.